Have you ever wondered if some treasures are better left unfound? Imagine gold so pure, so ancient, that it carries a price far greater than money. This is the story of Alastair Finch, a man who had everything, and the one treasure that would cost him his soul. Alastair was no ordinary collector. His vaults were filled with the world's rarest artifacts, each with its own story. But he craved something more, something legendary. His obsession led him to whispered tales from the remote jungles of Southeast Asia, tales of a lost temple and a treasure known as the Tears of the Sun. According to legend, it was a hoard of gold statues offered to a forgotten jungle deity centuries ago. The local stories, however, came with a chilling warning. The gold was protected by a powerful curse, bringing madness and death to any who disturbed it. For Alastair, this warning was just part of the allure. The greater the risk, the sweeter the prize. He assembled a top-tier expedition team, a grizzled guide named Kyle, a skeptical archaeologist, Dr. Eris Thorne, and a handful of seasoned mercenaries for security. After weeks of hacking through dense, unforgiving jungle, they found it. Half swallowed by vines and roots stood the entrance to a stone temple, an architectural marvel that time had failed to completely erase. The air inside was thick and heavy, smelling of damp earth and something else, something ancient and unsettling. Carvings on the wall depicted a terrifying deity with multiple arms and eyes that seemed to follow their every move. In the central chamber, lit by a single beam of sunlight piercing the canopy, was the hoard. It was more magnificent than Alastair could have dreamed. Dozens of solid gold statues, each exquisitely crafted, shimmered in the gloom. They were the Tears of the Sun. As his team carefully began crating the statues, Kale, the guide, grew increasingly agitated. He pointed to an inscription above the altar. "It says the gold holds the spirits of those sacrificed," he translated, his voice trembling. "They will not rest. They will haunt the hands that hold them." Dr. Thorne dismissed it as folklore, a common trick to deter looters. Alastair, blinded by a greed he'd never known before, simply laughed. He had found his ultimate prize. The first sign that something was wrong came during the extraction. One of the mercenaries, a man named Riggs, suddenly screamed, dropping a small golden idol. He clawed at his eyes, shouting about burning faces in the gold. He claimed the statues were whispering to him, promising him untold horrors. The team sedated him, blaming jungle fever. But as they airlifted the treasure back to civilization, a storm of unprecedented fury descended upon them. The helicopter was tossed about like a toy, and in the chaos, Riggs, now awake and thrashing, broke free from his restraints and fell from the open cargo door, his screams swallowed by the roaring wind. Back in his state-of-the-art, climate-controlled vault in London, Alastair felt a rush of triumph. The Tears of the Sun were his. He spent hours admiring them, the way the light danced across their polished surfaces. But his victory was short-lived. That night, the nightmares began. He dreamt of the temple, of shadowy figures with burning eyes emerging from the walls. He'd wake up in a cold sweat, the whispers from his dream still echoing in his ears, promises of a slow, agonizing demise. He tried to ignore it, but the curse was not confined to his sleep. During the day, he'd catch fleeting reflections in the golden statues, not of himself, but of gaunt, screaming faces. The temperature in his vault would plummet inexplicably, and the faint, chilling sound of chanting would drift from behind the sealed door. His obsession turned to paranoia. He fired his entire staff, convinced they were trying to steal his treasure. He stopped answering calls, isolating himself with his cursed gold. Dr. Thorne, the archaeologist, tried to intervene. He visited Alastair, concerned by his friend's deteriorating mental state. Thorne argued that the gold should be studied, perhaps even returned. Alastair, his eyes wild and bloodshot, accused Thorne of wanting the gold for himself and threw him out. The next day, Dr. Thorne was found dead in his apartment. The official cause was a sudden, massive heart attack, but the paramedic who found him mentioned something odd. Every reflective surface in Thorne's home, mirrors, windows, even the screen of his television, had been shattered from the inside. It was as if he had been trying to smash his own reflection. Alastair was now terrified. The whispers from the gold grew louder, more distinct. They told him of Thorne's final moments, how he was tormented by visions of his own decaying face in every mirror until his heart gave out. The statues were feeding on the fear and life force of those who possessed them. The curse was real, and it was coming for him. Desperate, Alistair tried to sell the collection. He contacted a rival collector, a ruthless businessman named Damien Cross. Cross arrived at Alistair's mansion, his arrogance palpable. He scoffed at Alistair's frantic warnings about a curse. "Superstitious nonsense, my dear Alistair," Cross sneered. "I'll take this cursed gold off your hands." The deal was made. As Cross's team loaded the statues into armored trucks, Alistair felt a wave of relief wash over him. For the first time in weeks, the whispers in his mind fell silent. He was free. That night he slept soundly, dreaming of nothing. But his peace was shattered by a phone call the next morning. It was the police. Damien Cross and his entire security detail were dead. Their armored convoy had been found on a deserted stretch of highway. There was no sign of a crash, no evidence of a robbery. All the gold was still there. Every single person in the convoy, including Cross, had died in their seats, their faces frozen in masks of pure, unadulterated terror. The cause of death for all of them? Simultaneous cardiac arrest. Alistair dropped the phone, a cold dread seeping into his bones. He hadn't escaped the curse, he had only passed it on. But he soon realized the horror was far from over. He looked at his hand, and for a split second, he saw it not as flesh and blood, but as gleaming cold gold. He rushed to a mirror, and staring back at him was not his own reflection, but the leering, multi-eyed face of the jungle deity from the temple walls. The curse hadn't left him. It had found its final home. The gold was gone, but its dark magic had latched onto the one who craved it most. The whispers returned, no longer promising death, but something far worse. An eternity as a vessel for the vengeful spirits, a living statue of greed and fear. Alistair Finch was never seen again. His mansion lies empty, a silent monument to a man who had everything but wanted more. The tears of the son, now in a government evidence locker, continue to baffle experts. Those who handle them, even for a short time, report feelings of intense dread and paranoia. The gold waits patient and eternal for its next victim. It serves as a grim reminder that some doors should never be opened, and some treasures carry a cost that no one can afford to pay. What do you think? Was it a curse or a case of mass hysteria fueled by guilt and superstition? Let me know your theories down in the comments. Thanks for joining me on this chilling journey. If you enjoy tales of mysteries and dark legends, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more stories from the edge of the unknown. Stay curious and stay safe.